You are not a believer of Christ if you can shame everybody else, but you can't fix your own problems. You are not a believer of Christ if you can sit around and gossip about people, but you can't pray for nobody else. You are not a believer of Christ if you can sit around and judge other people, but once again, you're not willing to take a look at yourself. You're not a believer of Christ if you can spout 1,000 scriptures, but your life does not reflect a single one of them. You're not a believer of Christ if you can make a whole bunch of plans, but you can't even put God in the forefront of your work. You're not a believer of Christ if you say the name, but you don't even know what you're believing in. I say this all to say there's too many of us out here claiming his name, but we're not claiming the life that comes with his name. And we have to understand that this is more than an aesthetic. This is an actual lifestyle. And we have to keep on saying it. We cannot keep walking out here thinking that we can just say, oh, I believe in Jesus, I believe in God, I believe in this, I believe in that, this, that, and the third, and woo, 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 woo. It's more than that. And y'all got to understand that God is looking at your heart. He is looking at how you treat people. He is looking at how you use your blessings to bless others. This is not about you. If you have a heart for God, you have to have a heart for his people. It's not about you and what you want to do. You cannot be talking about God and be talking about his people. You can't be having no big attitudes when God tells you to do something. You cannot be willing to serve God and not be willing to fulfill his purpose. You cannot be willing to serve God and every time he tells you to do something, you got a whole big attitude. You don't pay your tithes and your offerings. You can't even fellowship with the saints, even if it's once out of the month. You're not willing to do anything. You want God to take 2 steps, but you're not even willing to take the one. Make it make sense. So how are you expecting God to do his part if you're not willing to even do yours? And I'm not perfect. We need to do better. We all need to step up because time is winding up. And if the current times is not showing you that, then I really don't know what else to tell you. But we really got to step up as a body because at the end of the day, unity is missing. Love is missing. There's too many misconceptions out here that we have to undo and unravel because people out here trying to be religious. And that's another thing. Stop being so religious. The word of God says stop being a lawman. We're not out here to be religious. This is not about religion because at the end of the day, the most religious are the ones that are the hypocrites or what the Bible calls Pharisees. So at the end of the day, let's stop being religious. Let's stop being hypocrites. Let's stop being Pharisees. Let's all just be transparent. That's what's missing in the church is transparency. We don't want to be honest and talk about how we was whoring around back then and how we was caught up in prostitution and smoking and drinking and drugs and all of that because we scared about how people going to look at us. We don't want to talk about our past, but we forget that our past is a testimony and how it's going to help the young ones coming in today. How would we expect the young ones coming in or anybody to come in to be open and transparent with God and we can't even be transparent with each other? How do we expect anybody to come in to live their life for God if they don't see us living our life for God? You gotta understand that we are the only church that people will ever see. There are some people that are never going to ever step foot inside the building. And then we are the only building that they see. So their eyes is on us. So when they see us supporting certain things that we are not supposed to support, being set apart from the world, remember? When they see us dressing up a certain way that we're not supposed to dress, listening to certain music that we're not supposed to listen to, watching certain things we're not supposed to watch, saying certain things we shouldn't say, when they see us partaking in anything that we shouldn't partake in, that makes them think that we are lukewarm and that we are not true Christians. And that makes God look like a liar. We are the reason that people don't want to step foot back in the church. And honestly, God is tired.